Hi, my name is Joshua Vann, and this is my Week 7 Excel report. And for question one, we started out, or scenario one, we started out with the half-lives of different medications. First, we compared the half-lives of ibuprofen and Tylenol, and then I compared the half-life of Zyrtec and Claritin. Half-lives can be divided continuously, meaning they are infinitely many times many times it can be divided and will never equal zero. And isotope is data that is undefined, and at zero it is undefined. It would never touch the x-axis. Changing the scale it makes it easier to see. On this graph, we have a horizontal isotope. E in the formula for the number of hours in the equation. A trend line is helpful because we can substitute any number in the hours for our hours and see the amount, in this case the medication. It is beneficial knowing the half-lives because you can determine how much medicine is left in your body. I compared pain relievers and allergy medications. They are close, but now I can see a difference in them. And whenever we compared the half-lives of the different medications, like the ibuprofen and Tylenol, we broke it down into the percent of what remains at each hour, and then broke down what the actual half-life of the medication is. We done the same for the Zyrtec and the Claritin. And then we moved into scenario number 2. We compared GMO, the health effects of GM crops and GE crops. I don't really trust the second source link you gave us because they cannot put clear graphs on the page, on the web page. So how can how do I know all of their data is accurate? It is more of a health page compared to a government page that clearly states their data. Correlation is a relationship between two or more things, and causation is an action that is caused due to something, like cause and effect. The GE crops are being made more and more frequently, and it looks like we have more health problems, but we cannot say they are connected. There are too many other factors to be able to rule that that this is the reason we have so many health issues. The first two reposts given indications that it is not safe to eat GMO crop or GM crops, while the FDA report states that it is safe. And comparing non and GM plants, both are safe. It just states that they they do safety inspections for the plants. When given any information, I always will check the source first and check the nutritional facts before I make any decisions. And we done a line chart to show the percent of GE crops grown in the United States, and it shows how much of it's GE soy, GE cotton, and GE corn, and then the dates as far as the years, and shows how much of each has been used and produced. Then we went into people who were or hospital discharge diagnosis of peritonitis. I believe that's how you say it. I'm not sure. And we also done a line chart on this to show as far as the years that and how many diagnoses per year of this disease, and then how many acres were actually planted of the corn. And then we done the same thing with rheumatoid arthritis. We used a line graph to show the amount of patients diagnosed in each given year. And then we also took and looked at the correlation between children with autism and the GE crops. And we used the bar chart for this one, and it breaks down each year, and then the number of kids who were diagnosed with autism, and then also the amount of the tons of corn and soy that were grown that year. And then we took and compared the deaths due to intestinal infections, and we used a bar chart for this. And we took and Matt looked at the years and then the amount of deaths, and then how many acres of the corn that was grown each year, each of the given years. And then we also took and compared with the hospitalizations, the discharge diagnosis of bowel disease, and we used a line graph for this one. And we also took and compared each of the years, and also with the diagnosis and the amount of acres that were grown, how many acres of the corn was grown. And then all right. Scenario 3, we went over impaired driving, and we took and started out with making the bar charts first bar chart that we actually made was compared the different genders and the how many accidents were, or how many fatalities each year were based on whether they were male, female, or unknown, and then what the change was, and then what the percent, and then what the 5-year average. Then we took and done another bar graph, and we took and compared the road users and what type of transportation that they used, whether it was a bicycle, a car, motorcycle, passenger, or pedestrian. And we also took and compared that as far as an average for the years 2018, 2019, what the change was and what the change percentage. Then we also done the level of urbanization, and same as far as we used a bar chart. We showed what the 2018, 2019, the difference in change, the percentage, and then the 5-year average. Then we also took and done a comparison of age groups. We done the same thing, 2018, 2019, the change percentage, and the 5-year average. And we from 0 to over 70 were the age ranges that we took and compared. And then we also took and we also took and looked at the reaction times in adults with a blood alcohol level of 0.08, and we used a all right, on this one we used the histogram to show the reaction times. The median was 2.4, the mean was 2.34, the standard deviation was 0.59, and the coefficient variation was 0.25. And then here we made a Venn diagram, and basically we recreated the one just to the right. We had to show what the differences were, and as far as whether the certain percentage of people, or the amount that just had alcohol, that just had recreational drugs, or cannabis. And using the Venn diagram, it was able to show us who had multiple substances at one time. All right. The difference in transportation accidents for 2018, 2019 all depend on the time of the year and what the other factors are. I want to think we are becoming better drivers, but sometimes, or some years, the weather is worse, or the area has more accidents because of being a rural area. Most of the reports above indicate we are not getting better at driving. The more blood alcohol content in the blood slows down our reaction time. One beer, 1 5-ounce glass of wine, or one 1.5-ounce shot of distilled spirits per standard hour, you will remain in safe limits. However, it will depend on other factors too, such as age, gender, drink strength, body type, fat muscle content, metabolism, and hydration. The shape of the distribution is constant and is not skewed one way or the other. In the Venn diagram, the sections overlapping have multiple items in their system, and if it is only one color, it is just alcohol or cannabis. I think driverless cars could be beneficial if all were driverless. It only takes one human to have an accident. I think it will help to have driverless cars, but the older cars would have to come off the roads, and that is where I see issues due to coast and our economy. All right, next. All right. All right, next we went into texting and driving for number 4. And we basically observed the data of, we used line charts to, or we used line charts to take and show the differences as far as percentage in age groups, and also the years and the percentage of people who used handheld cell phones. Then we also took and we basically done the same as above, but we done it just in a different graph, and we found the mean, median, and standard deviation and coefficient variation. We also showed the same information in a box and whisker, and also in a bell chart, and we showed the quartile 1, 2, and 3. And let's see. And as far as with all the information we went through all the different age groups, 0 to 6, I believe it was 25 to 69. Then we all went up to 70 plus and showed the line graph, the box and whisker, and the bell curve. And the differences in the vertical axis labels or the y-axis is the way they start. As they start, could make a skewed graph. Making sure that all match actually shows what the data looks like. I changed the y-axis, and they all have a different maximum and minimum ages. 16 to 24 is about 9% with the minimum of 5. 25 to 69 is 6% with a minimum of 3.4, and 70 plus max is 1.6, and the minimum is 0.6. The standard deviation is the normal range of multiple scores. That is what you see. That is what you see at. That is how you see it in the bell curve. The data at the peak is the mean. Coefficient variation is comparing the standard deviation to the mean. The dots around the trend line is actual data, and the trend line is like the line of best fit. The width of the box and whisker plot is how much data you have, and the bell curve gives a visual representation of the statistics shown. If it is a very large outlier, you will see the data will be skewed, and the data will not be in normal distribution. A small outlier may not make a difference in data. Sorry about that. The standard deviation and coefficient of variation give you the spread of data on your graphs. I do not think giving off one set of data would be beneficial, and looking at other data can help you from your own opinion. Link in sorry about that. Link in the last like in the last link you shared with us to look at. All right. Next, we looked at the distribution of wealth, and that did not change. There we go. All right. For scenario number 5, we took and looked at the distribution of wealth in the U.S. So we made a we used combined bar charts in order to show the household wealth in the United States, and as far as the percentages. And then we also took and showed the groups. Sorry. Kept grabbing that graph over there. All right. And then we took and made a pie chart based on the government, the federal government, how our tax dollars are spent. And we also took and done the same thing for the state, as far as we gave a breakdown of how much of the state funds were allocated to different areas. The U.S. has money, but the household have more, according to the report we pulled the information from. The blue part of the bar graph is the households with wealth, and the orange part is the wealth with all the U.S. wealth. The normal household is not distributed because the graph is skewed to the right on the household income data we passed. It will not have an accurate curve. There might be outliers because you do not know the income over 200,000 because they put it all in one. The median is 49,445, and there will not be an average for it. The federal income tax dollars are spent on health and Social Security, while the state tax dollars are spent on education and health care. If we did not have a tax system, we would not have health care. We would not have the health care we do now. The roads would be horrible. Education would not be beneficial and would not develop new ideas or technologies. I like the way you say Germany had their taxes because everyone is taken care of and our children will have more support, and that is better than what we have right now. All right, and then the last thing that we did was we looked at scenario number 6. We looked at the heads of the household, single and married, filing jointly as far as for state and federal taxes. And we looked at which one, as far as which way was best as far as to be able to get the most money back. So as you can see, we took and looked at the annual pay, the percentage of deductions, the taxes paid, and then what the leftover is. And each one of them are different. If you look at it as far as the leftover for head of household was 31,028. The leftover for single was 32,518.50, and then the most leftover was the married filing jointly with 40,267. A raise is not always worth it because increasing to other tax brackets could mean you pay more in taxes. Looking at tax rates, you showed us. I have found the raise not worth it unless you are more toward the middle of the tax bracket. Being on the higher end could throw you into another bracket, and it would be less income due to the taxes. Head of household tax brackets are different and are less room to make more. Single, the percent being deducted was the same and did not move the tax bracket. Married, falling jointly, the tax bracket is lower, or kept the bracket at a lower rate, that being single. I think I would look into the rates before changing my status, because every year the amounts change and the ratios are different for how much taxes are paid. All right. Thank you for listening to my video.